Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar. Today we are going to look at building strategies for gold in the first part of this webinar, and in the second part we are going to answer some questions that we get quite often from you. But let's start with the first point, which is building strategies for gold. The build setup is quite simple and you can see it clearly in this table. We are going to build on data for gold on a 1 hour time frame from 2009 to mid-2019, where we will build 1,000 strategies, but this number, that's up to you. And of course, to pick the best and the most interesting strategies, we will do robustness tests. Specifically, if you remember the previous lessons, we will do 2 out of sample tests. One from July the 1st, 2019 until the last available data, where we will want a profit factor of at least 1. And the other one we will do on data from 2006 to the end of 2008, and we will want a profit factor of at least 1.1. By the way, to update your data, if you got like older one, simply go to the data manager and click on update all if you want to update all the data you've got, or you can select what you want to update and use button update selected. Knowing that we are not using data from 2003 here because there has been desperately low volatility on gold, and that data is simply not conclusive, it has no telling value. Next, we will test gold in markets with a different time frame, namely M30 and H4, so on slower and faster market. We will test for sensitivity to slippages, and the last test will be Monte Carlo retest methods. We are going to set all of this directly in strategy quant, and we are going to use a method that allows us to build these strategies faster and basically set up everything you see in this table all at once. So let's switch over to strategy quant, and today we are going to work in a section that we've never worked in before. I just mentioned it in one of the lessons, I guess, and that's custom projects. So we will open up custom projects, and if you have any sample projects here, feel free to delete them. It's up to you, but I'm going to delete them so we have a clear workspace here. And we will create our own custom project. I will explain you how it all works, how to properly create the steps, so you can also create it and test it out. I will start by clicking on create new project and naming it, I don't know, for example, gold H1. And I click on create. Now we have a blank project in front of us. We see similar things like in Builder. We have tasks, engine results, and start stop pause. We can have 10 of these custom projects here, and they can all run in parallel. But of course, we're only going to run just this one today. Now click to open the project, and what a custom project actually is. It's a nifty little widget that basically contains all the other parts of strategy quant, a builder, retester, and possibly optimizer. And we are going to work with a builder and retester now. And we are going to create what we call tasks. We can simply think of this as a list of tasks in which we comment strategy quant, like do this, when you are done, do that, and so on. And our first step, the first task that we want to give to strategy quant, will be to build 1,000 strategies as we have listed in the table in our slideshow. In custom project, we will click on create new task and select build strategies because that's what we want, building strategies. And like this, we've added our first task here on the left-hand side. And when you open it and go to the full settings tab, you can see the same things as if you will open Builder. Now we're going to load the settings for this build. So I'm going to click on the load icon, load saved config, and select the last option on the list, XAUUSD. Click on yes, and everything will automatically be set up. It's always a good idea to check this by looking just quickly. So our engine is correct, symbol is also correct, and time frame H1 is also okay. We can leave what we have in the full settings tab on the what to build tab as it is. You may notice that we have a higher profit target than we ever set in the lessons, but that is because Goal is making much bigger moves. In the genetic options tab, turn off the show last generation data bank, and that's all. In the data tab, we want to have data from January the 1st, 2009 to June 30th, 2019. Next, we have the precision set to selected time frame only, the default spread, and also the slippage. This is unnecessarily high, so we will set it to 10. A spread of 60 pips is fine. This market makes much bigger moves, so this spread is acceptable. It's okay. In the trading options tab, we leave everything as it is. The exit on Friday at 8:40 is on. Then in the building blocks tab, we also leave everything as it is. Again, we will be building mainly simple strategies, so we will be entering on a stop order, and we require both a stop loss and a profit target. And in addition to that, possibly a trailing stop and an exit in a certain number of candlesticks. We will skip the ATM tab, and maybe we will come back to it in one of the next webinars, and we will leave the money management tab at 0.1 lot fixed size. In cross checks, we will check the robustness. We will have higher backtest precision turn on. We will check in the middle panel to make sure we have 1 minute data tick simulation set. And we will also check filtering, where the values are fine like they are. But we have to click on each condition and set the first line to higher backtest precision. This is important. So change it for the first condition, the second one, and the third one. This is how we set it for all three conditions, so that the results from higher backtest precision are greater than the values entered for each condition. Now let's go to the ranking tab, where we see basically the same thing as in the builder itself. We want average trades per month greater than 2, profit factor greater than 1.3, and return drawdown ratio greater than 4. We have maximum strategies to store in data bank set to 1000, which I will reduce to 200 now, just for now, but you keep the 1000 strategies. That's better. And also keep data bank is full on. Now, if I started to build, strategic one would build me the strategies. Well, that would be it. It would just build me the strategies. But we are now going to add another task to strategic one, and that is, as we know, the out of sample test. So we click on add new task, select retest strategies, And the moment strategy 1 completes the first task, that is builds the 1000 strategies that I will have stored in the data bank, it goes to work immediately on the second task and starts testing the strategies according to how I set it up. And that's the great thing. Strategy 1 will do it over and over again for a week, for 2 weeks, for a month. It builds the strategies, tests them, saves the ones that pass the test, and repeats the whole process over and over again. And that's an incredible time saver for us. Of course, we have to work with data banks, so we always have to create a separate data bank for each of the tasks, but that's pretty quick. But now let's set up the tests. When we look back at the slideshow, we can see that we need the following: out of sample 1, out of sample 2, M30, test, H4 test, slippage, and Monte Carlo. In practice, this means that we will need 6 more data banks, and the 6th one will also contain the resulting strategies that passed all the tests. If you feel a bit lost now, absolutely don't worry. When we set up the whole workflow and you will see it as one whole, you will immediately understand that. So now back to strategy quant, and you can see that we have here a results data bank, and we need 6 new data banks. So click on new data bank, and that will be data bank for out of sample 1. So name it OOS1. Next data bank for out of sample 2. Another one for test on M30 time frame. So let's name it M30. Then we need one data bank for H4 time frame, for slippage, and the last data bank for Monte Carlo test, and also there are going to be the final strategies. So I am going to name it Monte Carlo final, but you can name it just final or as you want, but you have to know that this data bank will contain the final strategies that you will work further with. And you can, of course, move the individual data banks around. I personally like to arrange them exactly as the tests go, but that's up to each of you. And just to note, I could put the out of sample test and M30, H4 and slippage test in one test, but for the sake of illustration for today, so you can see how the strategies progress through the test, I will keep it separate. Now, what is next? If we open the first task, build strategies, we have added one thing here. It's where to save the strategies. We want to store them in the results data bank. So the first task is set up fine. Now we are going to go to the second task. I'm going to click on the settings icon and select copy config from task and select the first task, of course, build strategies. And it's also a good idea to rename the task for clarity. And since our first test is out of sample 1, we will name the task that. In full settings, we will go to the cross-check tab, turn off higher backslash precision, and set the data tab to 1 minute data text simulation. In this test, we want data from July the 1st, 2019 to the latest data we have available, and we want a profit factor greater than 1. Here, I will just remind you that if you had all data, again, simply update them in the data manager. So in our task, we will set the dates. I will click on reset dates and select the start date of 1st of July 2019. In ranking, I will leave only profit factor on and set it to the value of 1. And now I need to turn on this option, and this is very important. Delete failed strategies from databank, because I want to save only strategies that pass this test. If we didn't enable this option, all 200 strategies, or your 1000, from the results databank would be copied to the databank out of sample 1, regardless of whether the strategies passed the test or not. I mean, the strategy would show whether it is passed or failed, but they would all be in the databank, and it would be completely for nothing for us. So don't forget about this one. And now I must not forget about the databank settings. So I go to the Progress tab, and here in the right window I see the source databank, which for us in this tab is Results, and the target databank, which for us is XAUUSD. So in task number 2, the strategies that we built in the first task will be tested, and the ones that will pass the test will be stored in the databank XAUUSD. Okay, now it's time for the third task, the out of sample 2 test. The quickest way to do this is to click on the second task settings, that little icon, and select Clone Below. And it will basically copy the task. We will rename this task to out of sample 2, and source databank is out of sample 1, and target databank is out of sample 2. We want to set the data from 2006 to 2008 and the profit factor greater than 1.1. So we set the dates 1st of January 2006 to 31st December 2008. In ranking, I will set the profit factor to 1.1 and just check that we have the delete failed strategies option turned on. That's the important one. And with this, we have the third task set. The strategies that pass the test will remain stored in our out of sample 2 databank. The next task is a test on time frame M30. Again, like before, I will use the Clone Below option and rename the task to M30. In the Data tab, we set the whole range, so I simply click on Reset Dates. Don't forget to choose time frame M30, and in the Ranking tab, we want a profit factor greater than 1.1, which is what we wanted for the previous task, so we leave the value, but it's always better to check it twice. Source databank is out of sample 2 and target databank is M30. Now the fourth task, time frame H4. Again, I will copy the third task, so Clone Below, rename it to H4. In the Data tab, I choose H4 time frame. We want the data for the whole period, the whole range, so that's fine. And in a ranking, I will set the profit factor to at least 1. Let's not forget to set source databank, which is now M30, and target databank, and that's H4. Our next task will be to test for slippages. Again, like before and before, I will copy the previous task by clone below and rename it to slippage. Source databank is H4 and target databank is slippage. In the tab Data, I set back the time frame to H1 with slippage set to 100 pips. For gold, we are testing relatively high slippages. In the ranking, we set the profit factor to at least 1. Well, now we can start with the last task. So we copy the previous task again and rename it to parameters. The name is up to you. Again, like it goes for every task. The names are every time up to you. It's up to you what you choose, what you like, what you prefer. The source databank will be slippage and the target databank Monte Carlo final. You can name it just final. It's up to you. In the data tab, I will change slippage back to 10. Now, and this is important, we will switch to the cross checks tab and turn on Monte Carlo retest methods. In the middle panel, I will keep only the last option in the list, randomize strategy parameters with probability and max change, turn on, and set both values to 30. So for each simulation, I will change 30% of the parameters by plus or minus 30%. There will be 200 simulations with 1 minute data tick simulation precision. In the filtering tab, I will delete the default condition and add return drawdown ratio must be greater than or equal to return drawdown ratio. In the left value, I will set from backtest Monte Carlo retest methods at confidence level 95%. And for the right value, I will set main data, turn on apply percentage ratio, and set that to 50%. So we want return drawdown ratio from Monte Carlo retest methods at confidence level 95% to be greater than or equal to 50% of the return drawdown ratio from main data. Now in the ranking tab, I will turn off the profit factor. It is not important for us right now. And that's basically how we have everything set up. We are down to the last 2 tasks. I will click on Add New Task again and select Clear Databanks from the list. And we will clear all the databanks except Monte Carlo Final. And the last task will be Go to Task. And for the Clear Databanks task, we will set the following databanks. Results, XAUUSD1, XAUUSD2, M30, H4, and slippage. So in practice, we delete all databanks except the last one, where we will have the resulting strategies. We can ignore the existing portfolio databank for now. Just leave it as it is. Okay, and we are all set. And the moment we turn on the generating, what Strategy Quant does is it builds the strategies, and when it builds them, it goes to the second task and tests the strategies on out of sample 1. Those strategies that pass the test will be further tested on out of sample 2 and so on, until it gets to the task number 7, where it saves the resulting strategies to the databank, further cleans the databanks just except the last one, and then goes back to the beginning. And that's this cool advantage. I will set up the whole workflow, and as you can see, it's not so difficult. I turn it on, and I can go away for the weekend, for a week or month. And Strategic One will search for strategies in the meantime, from which I will choose the ones I want to deploy to, say, a test account, for example. If you have a very, very powerful computer, you can run up like 10 of these projects, and you can have like thousands and thousands of strategies. So let's go ahead and get it running. And you can see that Strategic One is starting to work. So we will leave it working like this, and we will get into the second part of our webinar. Then at the end of the webinar, we will see what Strategic One actually found for us, and I will explain you some details. But now we would like to take a look at the most common questions we receive from you. If you are unclear about anything else, feel free to post questions in the chat right now, and my colleagues will do their best to answer you. And the first question: how challenging is this trading style? This is a fairly common question. At first glance, this may seem very simple, but the truth is that it's not extremely challenging or complicated. It's that I have to know what I'm doing, do it correctly, responsibly, and dedicate myself to it. But it's not just about clicking something in Strategic One, starting a build, and not worrying about it any further. Of course, it doesn't work like that. You need to give it time, you have to learn it, dedicate yourself to it, then take care of the strategies in a real account. But in any case, it is much less time consuming than sitting at a computer and searching for trades. It's also much more flexible because you can build strategies when the markets are closed on the weekend or when there's nothing going on in the markets. But the biggest advantage is really the flexibility. It's definitely something that can be mastered, but on the other hand, it's not, as they say, for the trained monkey, that you just mechanically click and then watch the results. You really have to work hard. That's the reality. Then question number 2. Strategic One does not generate strategies. Is that normal? Well, it always depends on the time. If you run Strategic One and you don't have a strategy within like 2 minutes, then it's fine. Sometimes it takes like 5-10 minutes. But if they are not there in an hour, that's not okay. It's not normal. In such a case, the first step should be to take a look at the settings and make sure that everything is set up in the right way and correctly. And if it is, you can just send us email at lab@strategicone.com and we will check it to see if you have anything wrong, if there is a bug or something. Because for Strategic One to not generate any strategy for you after like 2 hours, it is really not standard or usual. The first strategies start to appear within a few minutes on very average computer. I personally work on very average computer, and it takes 3, maybe 4 minutes. And, I can already see first strategies, like first 2-3 strategies. So it's definitely not standard to wait like 2 hours for first strategies. Then I've got here question number 3. How is the deployment to the real market? Does it require any paid software? Well, this question is certainly appropriate. Deployment in the real market is a relatively easy matter. You need a platform. You need an account with a broker. Maybe a demo account or a nano account. For a nano account from Robo Markets, you just need like $20, and you can test it in real market conditions. And that's why we use these nano accounts from Robo Markets instead of demo accounts. And once you have a platform, you need to ensure it runs indefinitely. For example, an old laptop with a working battery will be enough for a demo account. And if you have it for like a real trading, live trading, a VPS for a few tens of dollars a month where you keep everything running remotely is very, very suitable. So explicitly paid software isn't needed, but if you are doing this professionally, a VPS comes in handy. It's a good thing. But again, you can, of course, share it with, I don't know, with your friends or a colleague so that you can share the costs. However, there is one thing, and that we are planning and will also be launching our own trading software fairly soon that can connect to MetaTrader 4, Interactive Brokers, TradeStation, and lots of other platforms. It will run on the cloud, so you will be able to trade through it and not have to deal with any VPS. What the price will be, we don't know, but it certainly won't be anything brutal. It's definitely worth it because you won't have to pay for a VPS. So it's not even going to be a price of VPS. Instead, you will have one software that will offer more advanced features, and you will be able to do things in it that you can't do at all in, for example, MetaTrader or TradeStation. This will add a huge amount of flexibility and additional trading options for both stocks, stock indexes, commodities, etc. And I think that's great. But basically, back to the question, there's no need to pay for any software as part of the small cap testing. The next question: can I trade strategies at Interactive Brokers? Basically, yes, you can, but you need a platform that you have to pay for, or you can wait a few months for our platform. That's up to you. However, Interactive Brokers does not have its own platform where you can trade it, meaning you will need a third-party platform. Now we've got here: is it advisable to deploy strategies according to this course or rather according to a more advanced course? Well, one thing needs to be clarified. This course is of course limited in scope. The more advanced one is designed for a much longer period of time. So what we do in this course are basic but functional workflows. But if you want better results, it is preferable to follow the more advanced course, which goes into a lot of depth. Strategies are more complex, better, and things like templates are used, which means you have a concept of strategy, and Strategic 1 looks at how to refine that concept to trade it better. And in the advanced course, you will get quite a lot of these templates that work so well in a long-term horizon. It will give you the techniques to build even more robust strategies with even better results. Now we've got here the next question: can I test my own idea in Strategic 1? I'm sure it is. I will switch to Strategic 1 to show you. There is a section down here called XAUUSD, and this is where you can, in quotes, click your own strategy. And you can even test it here. Once you have it ready, you can use it as a template, improve it, and so on. So not only you can test your own idea, but you can work with it in more depth and try to find ways to trade your idea in a better way, or build other new strategies based on it. Let's move on to the next question. Can I create strategy templates and how? More or less I answered that in the previous answer, because we create templates in XAUUSD in the same way as we create our own ideas. The difference is that templates have like predefined packages of different conditions, and strategy quant builds strategies based on these conditions. It may have one part fixed, for example, and I will say this casually, it will trade crossy moving averages and that it has to look up additional filters from the 50 fixed conditions. All of this is possible to do in strategy quant, and I guess we will show you it in one of the future webinars. Can I sell the strategy, or can I sell strategies? Yes. You can basically do whatever you want with the strategies once you build them. In the strategy quant, it's yours. The strategies have no limitations. We are just asking you, really kindly asking you, when you want to sell your strategies, only sell strategies that you have tested and tried yourself, at least on small positions, and ones that you trust enough to keep in your own account. Don't flood the market with garbage, because unfortunately there are more than enough of those weird strategies that are not like fully tested, and it can really bring you a loss, and that's what we don't want to do. And okay, now if you have any other questions, please post them in the chat, and my colleagues Tomasz and Cornel will do their best to answer them. And since Strategy Quant hasn't been running for very long, it's running like a few minutes, let's take a look together at a topic that is also quite frequently discussed. We have questions about it a lot, and I think it is important to answer that and to discuss it and just go through it. Results. What results can be achieved? And it's a perfectly logical question, because a lot of you have no experience with automated trading at all. For example, I don't know, so you are wondering what can be achieved. That's why I'd like to show you some results here, both ours and of our students. Before the demonstration here on this slide, you can see the comparison between reality and backtest, because that's actually another one of the things that we've dealt with a lot in the past, and I'm sure you deal with it as well. Whether the backtests are trustworthy, whether it corresponds to the real market behavior. I have to say it's not like 100%, but it's over 90%, so it is really precise. Which you can see in that picture. This is a portfolio of strategies, how they behaved over a period of time. It's about 7 months. And underneath that, you can see the backtest over the exactly same period. And you can tell that it's not like 100% the same, but it's very, very similar. I have another comparison here from our friend who has AlgoCity. He runs a sort of proprietary performance comparison system, and you can see that some of the strategies may be a little bit more different, but those are rather the exceptions. Most of the strategies fit really very accurately, so those backtests usually really match the real trading. That's how we know we can rely on the backtest. And now I'd like to show you some results here. Here we have 7 years of history on gold. This strategy was built by Thomas in 2014, and he was just starting out with automated trading at that time. He had basically no experience, and this was one of the first strategies that he built. He was testing it for a while, and in 2016 he started trading it for real, like live, and it's still running until today. In that time, it has brought him a profit of something around 30%, which of course is not some extreme number. It doesn't sound like extra great, but on the other hand, you have to remember that this strategy works with very little risks. We haven't talked about this yet. We will cover it in the next webinar. But at Strategic One, we don't rely on just one strategy. We rely on the entire portfolio. So we have, say, 30 or 10, 20 or 30 of those strategies. And, one strategy doesn't risk 2% per trade as it is commonly the case. But in a portfolio like this, each strategy risks, for example, 0.2%. Very little indeed. So if we were to compare this to conventional trading, you could say that in conventional trading, this strategy would make 10 times the profit if we traded just this one strategy. So the profit over 5 years would be something like 300%, which I think is very above standard. The other results I want to show you are from our students. I think they are from Holland or Belgium, I'm not sure. And this is their real account. But before that, they had it on a demo account for a very long time. They also offer to copy their signals themselves, so you can more or less copy those results. They have a profit of about 38% on the real account since May 2021, so in about 5-6 months. But before that, like I said, they had it on a demo account for about a year and a half, where they also had very good results. They've really taken a very responsible approach, and that's the way it should be, ideally. So even with complete strangers who are not from our team, you can see that this knowledge can be replicated and copied, and you can make very, very good money from trading. These guys focus on CFDs, on stock indexes, so it's a different approach than Forex. They focus on stock indexes, which are a little bit better to trade. As we've said in a couple of lessons, you get better, more stable results. And you can trade those stock trades not only on futures, but also CFDs, just like you trade Forex on MetaTrader. You can trade stock indexes as well. And the last result that I would like to show you is also from one of our students, and he was a little bit lost and confused at the beginning. He was not good at all, but then it took off nicely and it works very good. As of the latest data available to us, what we know, he has a profit of 50%, with the vast majority of that profit made in the last year and a half when he got into it, stopped panicking, and it took off nicely and started making money. Since then, he's been trading it on Darwin as well, because he trades within DarwinX, and I don't think those results are bad at all. He had a little over 30% last year. It's always about how much risk I'm willing to work with, of course. And most of these traders, the ones we mentioned, or ourselves, we work with little risk. We try to have a total account risk of maybe 10, 15, or 20%. We don't go for 50% risk. If we go for more risk, the profit will be more. But we try to keep the risk in the, call it, normal range. But those who want to can take more risk and go for potentially higher profits. It's up to you. We have one student and he has a profit of about 50% a year, and more or less several years in a row he has been profitable. It always really depends on how much risk you want to take, of how much risk you are willing to take. Higher risk means higher potential profits. In our experience, in the long run, the risk is around 1 in 2 to 3. So if you take a 10% risk, you can expect an annual return of around 20 to 30%, but let's be more conservative and say around 20%. If you risk 20% of the account, you go for 40% profit, and so on. Of course, if you become a trader and will learn to build strategies responsibly and take care of them responsibly. in such a case. And the last part, I would like to tell you something about the more advanced automated trading course and the possibility of a custom license of Strategy Quant, which you can then use basically unlimited. And we've prepared a little something, or I wouldn't call it little, but just something extra for you. So let's take a look at that. In the masterclass course, we are trying to go as practically as possible. So it contains dozens of practical lessons because to be practical is essential. I mean, you can't do it without theory, but the practice is terribly important. There are proven templates that you can start using straight away. The course contains complete know-how on how to find methods or how to search for methods and create your own templates. So it's really a guide from the very beginning when you know almost nothing, and I'm sure you appreciate ready-to-go templates, to when you gain experience and want to create your own templates, your own ideas. On top of that, there are 20 lessons of ATS theory where it goes more in depth than in Strategy Lab. So you will understand all the principles and you get 3 more courses. So you get quite a nice package of those courses. All complement each other very well. And you get all those courses for one price. It's all online, of course. So you can watch it from home, on your mobile, on your tablet, laptop, computer, TV. The automated trading course, so-called masterclass itself, cost standardly $790 plus VAT, and we don't usually give discounts on courses. We give other courses as a gift. But this is the only course where we make an exception that we sometimes give a lower prices, and that's mainly when we are running one of those Strategy Lab courses. So the masterclass course, which is a very, believe me, very intensive. We've been working on it for several years. It's updated and we are constantly updating it. You get a portfolio of strategies that has a proven results of stock index strategies, and the portfolio itself is worth some over $300, that's for sure. You also get a discussion forum. If anything is not clear to you, you can ask questions, discuss there, and we will be happy to explain anything to you there. We use that discussion forum actually as a kind of inspiration for the next lessons. So if you ask something often, we create new lessons on it to expand the overall scope of the course. Build those courses for you in general. So if something is not clear, and there are more questions about that, we will make a separate lesson on it so that it becomes part of that course. And the course is kind of live educational applications. It's not possible to buy the access separately, of course, but for example, our partners who also provide education on Strategy Quant charge something like $500 or $600 a year. But we don't do it that way. You will have unlimited access to the discussion forum. Then you will get a lesson that we are preparing because we are finishing the function in Strategy Quant. If you remember, that's the one we skipped so far, Advanced Trading Management, ATM. So you will get a lesson on building strategies using advanced money management methods. Here I have a demonstration of market martingale, which we do not recommend using. It's really just for demonstration because we have more advanced methods like sequential entering into positions, sequential closing of positions, and so on. So we will, of course, extend the course with this lesson. You will get that as well. Otherwise, martingale can be used in a limited way, but we don't want to mention it here in a general way yet. Then you get building of seasonal strategies, which also work very well in the long run, and you will get all the templates for that. Seasonal strategies are those specific strategies where we use different time formations, because quite often what happens is in some markets, for example, the first Monday of the month, the market tends to go up, and we have just a method of how to look for all these repetitive situations in the market, and quite often they tend to work very well, as you can see here. That's an example of strategy on gold that's been rising fairly steadily. It went sideways one time, but we didn't lose money, so that doesn't bother us significantly. Then it started rising again nicely, and you get this specific template, which is very unique in itself, and it's a know-how that's functional and definitely can be used very good. You get a strategy provider course where we teach you how you can sell your successful strategies and therefore make some money. We know from experience, since Thomas sells his strategies, that those profits are in the hundreds of dollars a month when you dedicate yourself to it. And that's not a bad amount at all. Even if it's just like $500 a month, you are looking at $6,000 a year. And that's money you can add to your account to build your trading capital faster. And that's money that you just don't find on the street. Then you get a template, a guide to building strategies for stocks that uses multiple markets simultaneously with very interesting results. And then you will get a VPS and live trading course on top of that teaches you how to live trade strategies, and again, it deepens your strategies more and more. Plus the previous AOS course, which we've already closed, but we've left it in there for completeness so you can go back to the older stuff as well. The overall value of this course is really high. Normally, these courses cost, from what I know when I went through the internet, like $10,000, $15,000. But we understand that not every beginning trader or not everyone has like unlimited capital. So the price is friendly. But on the other hand, we really only want to give it to people who are going to do it and are interested in it. Because it doesn't work like that I'm going to buy a course, watch videos, and become a millionaire. I mean, believe me guys, that would be awesome, but it doesn't work like that. It's like a book. It may have great content, but it's completely useless if you can't put what you read into practice and use it. So you really need to commit to it, put what you learn into practice, and most importantly, don't give up after the first failure. Because it may happen that you will build your first strategy and it will not be profitable. This can happen and you will find it out already in the demo account. But if you will quit after the first failure, you won't get anywhere. And I'm sure that this goes for everything in our lives. For example, after the first crash on bike or skis, you won't stop going either. You will learn patiently until you get the hang of it, until you master it. And it's the same here. So hang in there. In case you're willing to commit to it and you're willing to hang in there, then we've got a better price for you. But if you are not willing to do that and you are not willing to stick with those strategies and give it that time, then honestly, absolutely honestly, it's not for you and you would just be wasting your money and time. But if you're willing to persist, then come and see the prices that we've got for you. The masterclass course itself is now for $390 plus VAT instead of usual $790. You get a free 3-month license for a strategy quant, and I'm not at all afraid to say that it's a totally unique price considering the load of information you will get. We haven't done an offer like this in a long time, and frankly, we are not just going to do it again. Just to clarify, and this is very important, so please keep that in your mind, all these prices are without VAT. The VAT will be additionally added according to your country. For those of you who would like to go even further and would like to have own strategy quant license so you don't have to deal with the situation where your 3 months license is over, for example, we are giving you better pricing within Strategy Lab, and we've prepared several possibilities, several packages. The first one is Strategy Quant Pro plus 1 course package, which contains Strategy Quant Pro license with 1 year of upgrades, so the whole year you don't take care about anything. It contains institutional trading course full of practical lessons. There are like tens of hours of lessons. Futures and equities data for 3 months for free. Access to a global traders community. And standard license price is $1,490 plus VAT plus the price of the course. So in total, it's almost $2,000. But we've got price of the license with course for you for $990 plus VAT, of course. Then we've got Strategy Quant Pro license with upgrades for 1 year plus 5 courses. It contains futures and equities data for 3 months, access to the global algo trader community, and the data is not that expensive, like separately. It costs about $200 or $300 a year, but we pay a lot of money for it ourselves. So as much as we would love to, we can't give it away for free, like for life. And a usual price of this license is $1,490 plus VAT plus price of the course, which is in total $2,500. But within Strategy Lab, we have a price for you where that price is $1,380. And that's the final price for everything, without VAT, of course, but that's for everything, for the whole bundle. And then we've got here like clear diamond of packages, Strategy Quant Ultimate, which is the very, very highest version and includes Strategy Quant license with lifetime upgrades. So you never pay anything, never ever. Not even for the data. And just to say, Forex, currency pairs, and CFDs data are automatically free for all the versions for life. But because we have to pay for futures and equities data, these are only free in this ultimate version. Plus, there are new features in Strategy Quant that are exclusive to owners of just the ultimate licenses. For example, strategies in a special format that you can then sell on the MQL market to make money by selling those strategies as well. Even if it only makes you a few $100s a month, you will make back all your investment very quickly. And of course, there's access to the global community of algo traders. And because it's so loaded, it of course has its price. Because it can do an incredible amount and a lot, and it will do even more as time goes on. And the standard price, normally it's like $2,900 plus VAT, plus price of the courses, which is a total of $5,900 without VAT. But within Strategy Lab, we have price for you, and that's $2,490 plus VAT. And it's really, really nice price. And also, if you already have Strategy Quant Pro, you can decide just to upgrade, and that's for $1,300 plus VAT. Which option you choose is, of course, absolutely up to you. And also, and that's important, there is the option of installments. You don't sign any installment plan or contract or anything like that. It's all simply based on trust. So you can have all the licenses in 12 installments. You can find that at lab.sq.academy/strategylab, where you can choose to see the prices as a one-time price or spread out over those 12 months. And we have something more extra for you, some extra bonuses until this Sunday. Because as I said before, we love to support those who can make quick decisions, because in investing and trading, this quality comes in very handy. So if you join our community of traders and AUSD traders before Sunday, you will get 3 new workflows for unique strategies as a bonus. The picture shows one of them, for an example how it works. And these are called pullbacks, where we look for corrections in the stock market and then write them up. These are 3 new workflows, 3 types of strategies and templates that Thomas and Cornell are working on. They have tested it themselves and are now preparing lessons on it. These complement the other strategies very well, so that you can build a complex, comprehensive portfolio. And on top of all that, you will get access to beta testing of the new AUSD live trading app that we are developing, which I've already talked about briefly. So once we release the beta version, which we expect next spring, so it's in a very short time, you will get an access to testing that beta version. And once we debug it and release the full version, you will get 6 months of the full version for free. So for 6 months, you will be able to test everything without any payment. So if you join us before Sunday, you will be able to get this extra bonus with your license. And that's access to beta testing our new app and 6 months of free use after the full release. Everything you can find at lab.sq.academy/strategylab, and actually I will quickly show you how to proceed. So let's go to a website, lab.sq.academy/strategylab, and here you can see all those named options. If I click on this button, it will show me the prices for single payments or the prices for installment payments. So you just easily choose how you want to pay, if one-time payment or installment payments. You choose which package you want and simply click on it. This will redirect you to the payment gateway, and here you choose whether to pay by credit card or via PayPal. And finally, I want to say that this course, which is really, really very intensive, is built so that when you finish it, you will be able to build quality strategies, use really professional tools, because Strategic One is now a tool that is used not only by private traders, but also by professionals, whether in funds or at universities. Now, for example, we've got new university, and that's University of Miami. And we will also bring you an interview with a great icon of automated trading. That's also something to look forward to in the upcoming weeks. And basically, this great man, he's one of the founders of automated trading. And he himself has spoken very positively about Strategic One. And we are preparing special features in the Strategic One X for him so he could use it. And that is, without exaggeration, amazing feedback, and probably the best we can actually get. Now let's look at the results in Strategic One, what actually happened. So we are back in the Strategic One, and now I will describe what actually happened here. What we have here is a simple workflow, a basic one that finds us some strategies. Here you can notice the square brackets where there is a number 1, and that's the number that simply tells us how many times that particular task has run. So we are still running the first round during the time that we had the slideshow. Strategy Quant has built 200 strategies, tested them all, and now it's still working on the last test. Then it will clear the data banks, and then it will repeat the whole process. I'm going to resume the generating for now. And if we look at the bottom, at the data banks, in that final data bank, the Monte Carlo final, we can see those final strategies that have passed all the tests. Strategy Quant has found us some 16 strategies that are potentially interesting. And all we have to do then is to filter them further, or we can add more strict conditions. When we open the project flow log and in the visual view, we see a nice overview table where we can see where strategies are losing the most. You can see, for example, that we have 200 strategies in the first test, and of those 100% passed to out of sample 1, 94% of these passed out of sample 2, 43% of these passed M30 time frame, here 95% passed H4 time frame, and so on. So we can say that the strategies are quite robust and pass all the tests quite easily. Now I will open one of the generated strategies, this one for example, and let's look at its equity chart. And I'm not saying it is or it is not ideal. The point at the moment is that Strategy Quant has generated some interesting strategies for us to work with further. The really big advantage is that it all runs automatically. So if I let it run for a week, each task will run maybe 100 times, and I can have several thousand of the final strategies. Or I can tighten the conditions so that only the highest quality strategies remain, for example, by tightening the return drawdown ratio requirement. So simply put, this is an absolutely awesome feature, and definitely give it a try because it's worth it. In general, Strategy Quant is very flexible in terms of building strategies. There are an amazing number of ways to build strategies. It helps us a lot and saves us a lot of time. And I mean, the time is the most precious commodity ever in the world. So it's definitely cool to go through it and explore it. Within the course, you still have some time to try out Strategy Quant, but as I mentioned in the previous part of the webinar, there's a great bonus offer until Sunday. So if you want to check that out, check out lab.sq.academy/strategylab. And after Sunday, the prices will be the same as they are listed on the website, but just without the bonuses. And I think that would be a pity to miss that out. There's actually that access to the beta version of our new platform, and then 6 months of free use to the full version if you choose to do it by Sunday. And that's really kind of the cherry on the top that won't be repeated, because the next time Strategy Lab will run, the full version will already be released. Well, and that's all from me today. I thank you so much for participating. I hope you learned something new. I hope you were maybe motivated by the nice results that can be achieved. So keep building your strategies, test them, test Strategy Quant, and if you would have any questions, let us know in the discussion forum or email us at lab@strategyquant.com. So thank you again and have a great rest of the day. Goodbye.